Gladiators, sites of inspiration. Just wanted to come on here. I've been a little distant the last 2 weeks, so haven't been posting daily. And Facebook and Instagram remind me of, I'm down 70% from my viewership, and I haven't, it entices you to come back to the social media. But just want to say thanks to all you that reached out. Jay especially, thanks for checking in, and the rest of you know who you are. Just had a lot of loss lately. From Tommy at Billboard Mats passing away, and Aaron from the motorcycle accident, and Fred Pierce from the BKFC fighter. And we almost lost Randy, with a 99.9% blockage of his heart, a widowmaker. And then just like everyone else, I just kept seeing so many, decreased quality of life, from neurological disorders and diagnosis to hospitalizations and infections. Even Jordan Peterson, the Canadian psychiatrist who's on all the podcasts with Joe Rogan. He's on ICU for a month from mold, So I guess that's the downside to having such a large network and knowing so many people. You throw in a Charlie Kirk, who I didn't personally know, but such a public execution. So I guess I just wanted to say, I don't know what people think of me anymore. I used to be like that go-to guy, because I had resources in the community. I had a brick and mortar, and I had a place for you to get food and get encouragement, or you needed a job, or you needed, a friend, or you needed some resources. There was a network of, realtors or plumbers or accountants or whatever. You could just, hey, I know this guy and this girl, and you guys connect, and blah, 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 blah. And I was like the real life Craigslist. But, the more I learned about cellular health and biohacking and physiology, I just learned that the things I was doing was not going to lead to a good outcome as I aged. I knew that I capped out in bodybuilding because I was always chronically inflamed. I was taking a bunch of non-FDA approved supplements that had all kinds of toxic chemicals and heavy metals. I knew nothing about cellular health and antioxidants, glutathione, and mitochondria production. I was wearing my joints out, from bodybuilding. I was too much repetition. I was running and doing triathlons and riding bikes to New York and running the risk of building visceral fat around my heart from duration sporting events. I didn't know any of that. I learned that from Dr. O'Mara, and Dr. Lustig, who talks about the importance of dietary fiber and cellular health and ATP production. Now we're copper deficient, the importance of copper in our life. And I learned so much. And one of the things that I learned was that, yes, pizza could be a healthy food, and I built my career on it. And I tried to uplift the entire industry, and I put a global, positive spin on a historic craft. But in North America, at least, our wheat supply has been contaminated. They spray it with herbicides and pesticides and glyphosates, and it creates inflammation of the gut and other illnesses. And that's why people report all the time that when they go to Italy, they can eat without gaining weight. They can eat without being bloated. They can eat without irritation. They can eat without indigestion. And the more I studied, the more I learned about the respiratory issues of breathing in flour, especially enriched flour that's been bromated and bleached and folic acid added and blah, 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 blah. I didn't know any of that. And I think General Mills is actually starting to catch on that, they've got to make some changes. There's actually a green label high gluten flour, I believe now. It's non-bromated. I don't even know if that was an option back when I had my restaurants. But I know that breathing in toxic chemicals that are full of saline or chicken or just preservatives, and putting it on a hot grill and breathing in that vaporized grease and the vaporized chemicals, and cleaning those flat hot surfaces with chemicals to get the carbon off of it, and the deep fryer and pizza and cooking your body, standing next to a 550-degree oven, cooking your cells, like literally cooking your cells, cooking your body. And we always talk about how hard being a chef is because of managing stress and the long hours and time on your feet and eating at odd times and substance abuse to deal with the stress and the chaos. And if you're a business owner, managing chronic stress. But I didn't know about respiratory issues. And now Jordan Peterson is on life support, like basically ICU. He just got transferred, but it's a long recovery if he ever makes it out. Yeah, I could never do that at the restaurants, by the way. Like that whole filling up my lung cavity and getting that full breath where like you kind of get over that hump, where it's like you need to just, oh man, I could never do that. I would have to take Zyrtec every single day, big pharmacy, just popping pills because my eyes would glue shut, and then I couldn't breathe. My nasal would be all clogged up, and then I would sneeze all shift and leak in my nose. And my staff would make fun of me, like, "Oh, how can the pizza diet guy be allergic to pizza?" I developed it, and it came down at a time when you couldn't wear a mask to protect yourself. You would have lost all your business. You would have lost all your customers. The only person who could wear a mask back then were authentic Asians. Michael Jackson, when he had the mask, But if you were a pizza shop owner wearing a mask, a medical mask in the middle of a shift, you had a chronic disease that was probably contaminating the population. You were a threat to society, and no one's going to let you cook or prepare food if they think you're terminally ill. So the point that I'm trying to make is that I've learned a lot over the years, and I've done my due diligence to put myself in alignment with some of the greatest minds in the exercise science space, neuroscience, biohacking. Dr. Lustig with the dietary fiber, and Numi with the glutathione intracellular health, and Dr. Leva, who is the queen of biohacking, and Dr. Mike DeBoer with the local restriction, and Doug Brindle, and Dave from Inertia Wave. And I've learned from my mistakes, like how to train the body in a better way for longevity, for time under tension, for bone density strengthening, to help with mineralization, like understanding that the human body is a salt battery, where sodium and potassium and 84 to 92 trace minerals and 8 amino acids. Oh man. So when you realize that you just need to charge up and put the right electrolytes and the right nutrients in your body, that food is an addiction. And when you can start to get that clarity and you start to take back control of your life, well, that equals freedom. And I posted on my wall this week that there's 50,000 atoms of copper in our mitochondria and our cells. Now, and since 1982, they took copper out of our circulation. We don't touch copper anymore. But thanks to my friends at the Cool Breeze AC studio in Pinellas Park, I made a hand grip out of copper out of some spare parts in the back. And I charge it on the dash of my car, and I let the sun do its magic and charging the copper. And then I drive and I hold it in my hands. Because we don't just get absorption through food and drink. We actually get it through our skin. It's our largest organ. So touching flour or chemicals in a kitchen or cleaning supplies, you absorb that. Deodorants and lotions and like, hair, right? I mean, everybody talks about my hair. They use coconut oil. I use castor oil. I don't use the shampoo and the conditioners and the things with the chemicals in it. So, but that's where this penny a day, my 2 cents campaign comes from. There's you remember when you're a kid, or if you went to Italy, in the fountain, you take your pennies and you would throw them into the well. You would make a wish, or you'd make a prayer, say a prayer, or whatever you're going through in your life. And copper is a big part of it. Since 1982, they've removed copper from our society. We don't have it in our pennies anymore. People don't pay with pennies anymore. So I've been calling the Abraham Lincoln of our new era, because people aren't shackled and caged. I mean, most people aren't. We still have people who are incarcerated, people who have made mistakes. There's a lot of people that live in a life behind bars. But that's what the new foundation is. And that's what I partner with Jan Richards for. And we call it Be a Rising Star Bars, significant of a life behind bars, the freedom device. You hold yourself behind a set of bars with angular force. And for people who've lost time behind bars and lost years of time, we can help them readjust to society when they get out, to deal with the emotional trauma of the personal guilt they feel for carrying that with them, time missed with family and loved ones and their children, or my friend Aaron, who lost his life behind a set of bars on a highway riding a motorcycle. People are dealing with trauma and anguish from riding bicycles or losing loved ones to accidents. So it's multi-purposed. And so yeah, you can donate your pennies. It's a 501c3. It's a legal nonprofit. You can write it off on your taxes. Of course, you can donate more than that. You can digitally donate. You can write checks or donate whatever. But it's really about the copper, symbolic of the wheat penny. You see, they talked about the wheat and the pizza. It's been tarnished over the years. Well, the wheat penny, those were copper pennies, 100% copper. And so if you have change sitting around in your ashtray, in your glove box, or in your purse, or in jars in your kitchen or your garage, and want to put them to good use, gladly accept your donations. And let me build this foundation so that I can help people from all ages and all walks of life to get better as they age, to take these protocols that I've been developing to align with these companies and these products that I've been using so that they can get similar results. I go out in public every day. I'm out every day. I don't see many 50-year-olds that look like me. Certainly I don't see many 50-year-olds that have the capability I have. And if they do, they're taking so much, hormonal replacement, peptides, the SARMs, steroids, who knows what the damage and effects will be. I just know that all the top bodybuilders that compete at the Olympia levels from my golden era of life aren't better today than they were when they once peaked. It's a decreased quality of life from where they once were. And I feel like I'm ascending while they're descending. And everybody deserves to have access to what I do. Literally, pennies on the dollar, guys. I mean, this isn't about spending $5,000 for a high-ticket coaching program 10 grand for like an ultra BS, protocol, and to exclude people who can't afford it and make it exclusive to only the wealthy or the elite. I mean, this is barefoot, mineral salt, a box of not GMO sodium bicarbonate, baking soda, distilled water. Like, don't pay $7 for a gallon of alkaline water. Distilled water is $1.50. Flush it all out, add the minerals that you need back in. Charge your body up. Decharge barefoot, charge up with the sun. Hold copper. You want to drink some alkaline water? Take a copper pot, pure copper, put water in it overnight, and then drink it in the morning. You actually become alkaline through the process. And that's what this coaching program is meant to be. It's got to be affordable for everyone, for the people who are coming out of incarcerations, from homeless shelters, who are just trying to get their life back, who have lost their families to divorce or have overcome tragedies, depression, and addictions. We got to help the people so they can afford to help themselves. The elite can buy the hyperbaric chambers, and they can do the red light therapies and the peptides and the clinics and the Ozempics. I mean, there's a lot of resources if you have money. But I've always been a bottom-up kind of guy. No, the wealthy want to do the trickle-down effects and starts at the top and works its way down. That's fine. But as I've mentioned before in many of my videos, I'd rather start from the bottom and work my way up. I won't meet in the middle. It's inevitable at some point, but I need your help. I need some donations and I need some sponsorships. I've got a lot of places I need to be this year. I need to be at the Super Bowl, Randy in Las Vegas this year. Got a lot of content I got to get out to the world. There's a lot of trade shows I need to attend. At the CES and the Golf Expo. A lot of this stuff is crossed over. A lot of people need this in every sector, but the more exposure I get, I need some funding to get on podcasts. They can't go on people's podcasts and distribute this information to millions and millions of people without paying for your time and your appearance. So I need to go on the Bradley podcast. I need to go on the Huberman podcast. I need to get on Rogan's podcast. And Eddie Bravo. Listen, Eddie, you said when I get a champion, when I have success with the vertical gym, that you'll let me drive it out to Joe and you'll put me on the Joe Rogan experience. Well, Julian Lane is your welterweight world champion at BKFC. Ryan Reber missed the mark by one fight with Blouse, who was suspended, I believe. He's not even fighting because of whatever violation. He was 6-0 until that fight. Those are my first two testimonies that the vertical conditioning improves a fight game with a mindset of training smarter, not harder, not going into a fight to condition to go into a fight. That's the problem with our military. When Pete Hegseth talks about how all military needs to be able to do 2 PT physical tests per year, when our military needs to up their standard of capability, that he doesn't want any fat formations any longer. Well, the one thing about history is if you don't learn from your past, you're doomed to repeat it. And the boot camp style training is obsolete. The David Goggins style, that drill sergeant mentality, is not necessary. The footwear that they wear in boot camp is wrong. It's the wrong posture. You're asking them to do things that are causing more ankle issues, fascia damage, knee, back issues, shoulder, spine issues. Quit loading the vertebrae of our military with 70 pounds of compressive gear and having them run for duration, building up more visceral fat around the heart and causing other issues. Because guess what? When they're done serving our military and defending our freedoms that I've aged out of biologically, by the way, not because I don't have capability, because I biologically, my cells are too old. And so because of that, I'm not capable of defending our country's freedoms in our military. But let's make sure that when our men and women re-enter the private sector after doing their job, that they're more capable humans. Let's make sure they don't go straight from active duty into the VA system, under our medical system, with surgeries and decreased quality of life, or even worse, left with pain pills and addiction to opiates, sitting in lodges and drinking alcohol with neurotoxins and avoiding the emotional trauma that they endured during their service. There's a better way. In the fight game, I prepare my fighters to fight. I condition them to fight without concussions, without taking trauma, without taking damage. Because guess what? If you get injured in fight camp, you don't get paid. You only get paid by the promotion if you perform on fight night. So what happens in the military when you get hurt in boot camp trying to get your body back to a level of physical fitness to pass these requirements? When your job in the military didn't require hand-to-hand combat conditioning, when you sat behind a computer screen or you did other jobs in the military, and then they get injured doing a boot camp style training regimen so they can stay compliant. Freedom needs to be at every military base. And as a man who has great pride for this country and respects our men and women in uniform and truly lives under the motto of personal expressionism, when I had my red mohawk, thanks to Hulk Hogan or Terry, when he turned me into a real life gladiator, or now with the long hair or my beardo. If Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, will put me on the military payroll to lead these men and women and put these freedom devices on every military base and set up the curriculum and the protocols so they all pass their tests with flying colors, I will shave my head and shave my beard and conform to the standard of code of ethics to join that fight for our men and women. And I want to be your head trainer for those of you that are not in the military. You see, the head trainer in the boxing, or my time with the boxing commission, I've learned the fighter and the coach have a relationship before the fight or flight response is engaged from the nervous system, before they're in a fight for their life scenario, before they're in a place of danger. And that relationship is special because visually, the fighters are looking at their opponent, but audibly they're listening to the corner for instruction because of trust, because of years of experience, and knowing that that head coach, the head trainer, has their best interests at heart, that they can see the fight from a different perspective. And that's what's wrong with mental health in our country. You see, people wait till they hit rock bottom and then they seek help, because you really don't have many options. You either throw in the towel of life and commit suicide. And my time with the Helsinki Hope Foundation taught me a lot about erasing the stigma of suicide, especially in student athletes. My time with the Bars Association with Jan Richards and Florida Rising Star taught me about student athletes and career in sports and helping these young men and women transition when they can't make it to the next level, when the expectations are so high and the potential of an NIL deal or getting a scholarship or playing pro ball are ended because of injury or just lack of opportunity or talent. So I have a lot of experience in a lot of different areas. And but in life, the trainer knows who you are. Your head trainer knows who you are before the storm. Now, how can you be at a place in life where you're at rock bottom and it's either throw in the towel and end it all, or raise your hand and call a crisis hotline and say, I'm flawed, I'm about to take my life. And then you have to rebuild your life on that with a new relationship with someone you've never met in a system that you're embarrassed to be in. And they're trying to help guide you back to like who you are when you don't even know who you were. Don't even know how you ended up that far down or how you even hit rock bottom. Just a distant memory of what you once were. So what does mental health need? Well, it needs people who know you before. When life is good, when you bought a new car and you have a thriving business and your kids are growing and you travel the world and you finish college. Someone that knows you at your highs. So that way when you go through a storm of life, you have perspective from someone who really cares or who knows what you're fully capable of. And I don't know if I won't call myself a pastor because I'm not a pastor. That's disrespectful to pastors. They went to school and they learned about the book, and I'm going to be rooted in the Word. Okay, I'm going to use biohacking and combine biohacking with the Scripture. There's a lot of fasting mentioned in the Bible about faith and getting your mindset to a level of consciousness and connectivity to where you can connect to the higher power. And I know that stepping up on the back of the Freedom device, you get closer to God. One, in elevation, so literally closer to God. Two, neurologically, you stimulate and get closer to God. So it's going to be a little bit of it's going to be faith. It's going to be rooted in the Word. It's going to be a little bit of longevity and biohacking technique. It's going to be communal. It's going to definitely be vertical. You know, we sit too much as a human being as it is. We spend way too much time sitting on a couch, sitting on a chair, sitting on a toilet, sitting on a car, sitting at a pew at church, all we do is sit. And so we need to be more vertical and more communal. And so that's what this opportunity is about. And with your donations of your pennies, I have 2 locations selected to have what you would call a church service. Both are located in a house of worship. Both are allowing me to use their brick and mortar locations, to bring together this community outreach program. There'll be no judgments. There'll be no stigmas. It's just about making people capable. Because from my experience, when people lose capability, they lose hope. And I think if you can restore capability and you restore hope, I think suicide rates go down. Not just for our veterans who are dealing with PTSD, but I just mean across the board in every sector. You know, when you lose capabilities to think for yourself or to care for yourself or to walk unassisted or to protect your family or your business or your loved ones, when you lose capability, I see a lot of people lose hope. And I always hated it that my partners, you know, John and Brandon, they were coming up with slogans for the whole G-NAT movement. And they kept calling us hope dealers. And I'm like, no, it's like, it's too magical. It's too fantasy. It's too much like snake oil salesman. It's not real. It's like a carny at a festival. It's like, it's not credible. So we're not hope dealers. And I fought back for years and years and years. And I'm like, no. But yeah, we are hope dealers. I mean, I know it sounds crazy. I didn't like it either. But it's exactly what we do. We empower hope. by restoring capabilities, whether it's range of motion or skeletal alignment, joint decompression, circulation of the nervous system, stimulation of the nervous system, uh, um, uh, pump of blood from the calf back up to the heart, because we know now that the calf is the second heart. Angular force, time under tension, myokine molecules from the muscle contraction, neurological stimulation, stimulating the anterior midcingulate cortex, or even better, stimulating the VMAT2 gene, also known as the worship gene. That one I don't know yet. Don't hold me to that one. The VMAT2 gene would be fitting though. You probably see me sign my name online, M @ symbol, right? So that was about efficiency. Wow. Okay, my name is Matthew, first book of the New Testament, right? Matthew 17, verse, I think 20, 21 talks about how fasting gets you to a better clarity. And then with the faith of just the size of one mustard seed, you can move mountains. But Matt was short for Matthew. And then with Tommy, rest in peace, Billboard Matt's always in your corner. That's why when I'm your head trainer, I promise you, you'll always have me in your corner. I will always give you the best version of me. I'll give you the same advice that I would take for myself. I will pass you off to my trusted team, my cornermen, my seconds. When they say that seconds save lives, seconds matter. In boxing, seconds are the cornermen, the cut man, the guy with the water and the ice and the cuts and the assistant coaches. I've got a whole team of seconds. Seconds is crucial. And but VMAT2, it's known as the worship gene. And in science, they've identified it as the gene that we're predisposed as humans to worship a higher power. And as youth, it starts out innocent, Tooth Fairy, Easter Bunny, Rip Santa, shout out. I'm probably the only guy in the world that got Santa to start non-smoking. I mean, having Bill Everhart, the Rip Santa, start non-smoking for nasal breathing and oxygen internally to get nootropic effect for the nicotine. It's probably like, one of those things that I never thought would happen on my life bingo card, but sure enough, so shout out. But then it goes into superheroes. As a kid, you watch cartoons, The Incredible Hulk, Batman, Spider-Man. And then as an adult, turns into faith, to religion, Buddha, Allah, Jesus, God, whatever. And I'm starting to believe and starting to live a protocol where if you clean up your gut microbiome, if you clean up your body's temple, right? So you can see with the light, Munch Munch, Dr. Robert Lustig's dietary fiber supplement. But if you clean up your gut microbiome and you clean up leaky gut, which is connected to your brain, to the vagus nerve, and when you get your body's temple healthy, the one vehicle that you get to carry your Holy Spirit with on earth, by the way. So forget Teslas. Teslas weren't the first electrical vehicles. We were, because we're electrical beings. Sodium and potassium. I told you that we're a salt battery as a human being. So cleaning up your gut microbiome gives you a better, when this temple is healthy, this temple gets a better connection. And I'm pretty positive that activating the sympathetic nervous system on the Freedom device strengthens the VMAT2G. Did you hear what I said? That by cleaning up this temple gets a better connection. Think of it as yoga. Okay, yoga is about alignment of the vertebrae, right? Opening your chakras to align them, to give you a higher consciousness and awareness and a connection to a higher belief system or a spiritual being, right? The Freedom device does that. It gives you the skeletal alignment and the skeletal decompression, the energy flow. Jesus died at 33. We have 33 vertebrae. Jesus was vertical on a cross. And when they say that Jesus died and rose again on the third day, from what we know about the scripture about fasting, well, every 3 days you generate new stem cells. When you get to a level of autophagy, where your body gets rid of dormant cells and it starts to regenerate new cells. So every 3 days, you're born again. Listen, this isn't a cult. I'm not a pastor. It's not even a church. But it'll be rooted in the Word, and Jesus will be at the centerpiece. And I don't know what happened before Jesus, and I don't know what happened in the history of the world. I don't know about the Anunnaki civilizations and, Eden and the labs. And here's what I do think I know. I believe that we are 98.7% simian. We lost 2 chromosomes from the chimpanzee. We have a superior intellect. We have a vertical posture, a posture that isn't conducive of living a good quality of life. Like all or most aging Americans have back issues or posture issues or knee issues or ankle issues. So the human being 100% vertical is probably because of this change in our DNA over the course of humanity. At some point on Earth, as a Homo sapien, something happened. It would make sense that we were supposed to have more like a gorilla posture, with our bigger quads, a 45-degree angle back, take the load off, 4 points of attachment to the ground. I mean, my friend Damar Hampton, he does primate flow and animal flow through space out in Coachman Park. I'm sure that there's some similarities for how the human body evolved over the years, but it makes sense of why we have so many physiological issues with being 100% vertical all the time, right? But I don't know what happened before Jesus, and I'm not going to claim to know. I don't really care. Here's what I do care about. Whatever happened, Jesus, his birth was so special. It was so important that the world changed the recording of time. And we haven't seen that since. That's all I need to know. Time is the most valuable commodity we have. Reframing it. When I talk about seconds matter, so we'll explore other options. I'm open to conversations of what happened before Jesus, what civilizations were here and what was in charge. But it's our recorded time after Jesus' birth. And that's pretty spectacular. So this whole mission is about living your life the way Jesus would. Being skilled in your craft, being humble, washing feet, taking care of the people, right? And being courageous, standing up for your beliefs. And I think that's noble. And just like Jesus on the cross, I'm vertical every day as well. And I would ask for you to join me for all the reasons that I mentioned and for reasons that I don't even know about yet. That's the great thing about evolution and AI and science and discovery. But I do my due diligence to try to bring I try to vet people that I believe are credible. I try to take the most important aspects of what they present to platforms and universities and publish papers, and then I try to figure out how a person on a budget in the real world can take that crucial piece of information and then put it together as a curriculum or a program to get healthy, to prepare to live forever. Because here's my firm belief at the bars, church, communication, whatever, community center, life center. If you have cognitive awareness and you have mobility, you have freedom. And then everything else in your life is just an alignment. What tasks you do in exchange for currency, where you call home, where you live, who you spend your time with, what religion you follow, what shows you watch, what car you drive, what hairstyle represents you, whatever. If you have cognitive function and awareness, and you have mobility, you have freedom. I missed that one. I'm gonna sit up straight, get my posture right. That's the one thing that's been big about this change. So I spent a lot more time at a desk doing Zoom calls and on emails and conferences. And whew, this is a tough way to live. Kudos to you that can do this for 40, 50, 60 hours a week. And man, I feel compressed just by sitting here for 30 minutes. Let's try that again. That's better. Not perfect, but I'll keep working on it. Listen, I love you guys. I do. Got so much love for all of you. Appreciate all of you that reached out. Appreciate all of you that check in on me. Appreciate all the love and support. Look, I want to be your head trainer, right? See a lot of online coaches, see a lot of online trainers, a lot of online, curriculums, and they don't have nearly the experience I have. And they charge crazy money. Like just to talk to them, they're like, all right, it's 5,000 to start, 7,700. It's like, for what? For what? Like I could just put in AI and Copilot and be like, create me a macro-friendly nutrition plan, including pizza for 7 days. It's done in 30 seconds. Give me a workout routine that's going to be less compression, that doesn't compress my vertebrae. Like literally all these coaches are just having you sign up for high ticket because they're still selling the illusion that if it costs a lot of money, then people think that it's more valuable. And that is a perception. And I don't want to be a gouger, and I don't want to take advantage of people, and I don't want to. So that's why you can go ask any of my clients. Any of them, except for my billionaire clients. I take their money. But like they have enough. They're good. But for all the fighters, all the athletes, all the high school students, all the people chasing dreams, all the people that can't afford my services and my time, I never asked them for $1. And I'd like to keep it that way. I'd like to keep my services free. I'd like to keep it available for those that can't afford it. But for those of you that have been blessed and you have extra money, or you have disposable income, or you have lost your importance of chasing money, it's just now some accountant or controller is just managing it for you, and you get a statement at the end of the year and you sign off on it and whatever. Man, I have a 501c3 now. You can write off on your taxes and you can help me fund this initiative. It will cost you nothing. And you'll get the satisfaction. You're investing in me so that I can invest in the community. You guys know me. Somebody vouch for me. If you've ever gotten a free pizza from my restaurant, if I've ever donated to your kid's school, if I've ever donated to your triathlon, if I've ever put my logo on the back of your shirt, if I've ever donated to your powerlifting meets, your conferences, if I've ever donated to anything, if you've ever seen me give from my pocket without asking for anything in return, then vouch for me so that you know that this money is going where it's intended to go. That's why I don't want to call it a church. I don't want to call it a pastor. Unfortunately, man has tarnished what it means to be a pastor. They've abused power, and they've violated trust, and sexual assaults and embezzlement. You see it in all the different faiths. It's not just Catholic, but in every church. Every time I turn on the news, it seems like there's more extortion and issues in our religious sector than in any other. So I'm not a pastor, and this is not a cult, and it's not a church, but I want it to be in a place of faith, because I want it to be rooted in the Word, and I want it to be centered around Jesus. But I want to feature water as the most important element, because Jesus and his walking on water, but more importantly for purity, for distilled water being 99.9% pure, and hydrogen water for healing effects, and baptismals with hydrogen water to help with skin issues and eczema. And look, they will have an aqua bar inside. You can get alkaline water. You can get copper alkaline water. You can get Stungate mineral water from Russia. You can get distilled water. It'll be a water bar. And when I say I have a life behind bars, a lot of people have lost their life at a bar, from shootings or losing their temper or stabbings to sitting and drinking excessive amounts of alcohol, eating ultra-processed foods, not moving their body, and losing their life and their family and their futures to bars. See, whether it's incarceration or deliberation or liberation, a life behind bars, be a rising star. Oh, did you see it? Oh, I got all of that breath. Oh man. When you're aligned neurologically and emotionally and physically and spiritually, it's a cheat code. You know, I make those videos in the morning when I walk my dog, and when you guys see me with Max and we're walking in the sun, I'm barefoot. And, consciously, I'm thinking about the content, you know, what message of the day and what I'm going to say, and I want to tie it into like a current event. But then subconsciously, I'm paying attention to the cars or, you know, other dogs or birds chirping. But then when you get to that subconscious level and you can hear the cicadas singing in the trees, and then you're like, okay, it's going to rain today. And then you're like, all right, I got to put the doors back on my Jeep, right? It's having that balance between conscious and subconscious at all times to be in full control of your surroundings. And I see so many people now distracted on their device, just looking down, or they're medicated, or they're numb to neurotoxins, and they're just oblivious to things around them. They're just walking into retail stores and they don't even see anything except what's in front of their face. Like understanding that the posture of your cervical is crucial to longevity. I mean, look at Hulk Hogan, rest in peace. Man, I lost a lot of really good people lately. A lot of really great mentors and a lot of really great people that I feel like I could have helped. But see, I was the younger one. How could this pizza guy, this pizza novelty gimmick guy from the internet or from TV, how could this guy have knowledge that could help me save my life? I have doctors, I have people that have medical degrees and surgeons and experts. How can this guy save my life or prolong it or extend it or give me comfort and relief physically? And rest in peace, Terry. Real American. I was so disappointed when you came out pushing neurotoxins. We didn't need the money, man. And I love that they gave you the trail for eat your vitamins and take your vitamins and eat your vegetables and say your prayers. Now there's a running trail in Pinellas County that's dedicated to you. I get it. I got lost in the last part, but I was just talking about consciousness and awareness, right? So this month, Allen Iverson's coming out with his documentary. Now, if you know anything about the Helsinki Hope Foundation, Tyler Helsinki, number 3, right? So 3 is the triad, Father, Son, Holy Ghost. 3 is the strongest, 3-sided triangle, strongest geometric shape. And Tyler wore number 3 when he committed suicide as a starting quarterback for Washington State University. And Allen Iverson wore 3. And he missed practice once. And they had a press conference. And in that press conference, he was like, "This is stupid. I'm not getting paid. It's not part of the season. It doesn't count for my stats. It's not going to make me have a better leverage with my agent to get a better contract at the end of the season against other players in the league. It's going to put me at risk of getting injured, and it's just practice. I'm the number 1 player in the league. I give my heart to this game, my soul to this game, and we're talking about practice? Practice, man. Not a game, not a championship, not an important game, but practice." Well, you know why? Because those old school coaches knew that if you did something repetitively enough, eventually it becomes instinctive. Think back to when you were in grade school. If you got in trouble, you had to write your name on the board 100 times, or I will not cuss 500 times, or I will not kick my neighbor, 1,000 times. Well, eventually, the more repetition, eventually it becomes instinctive. And that's where a lot of coaches have made mistakes over the years, putting youth athletes' lives at risk by 2-a-day workouts and 4 hours a day in the sun, and putting them to extreme conditions to drill and drill and drill, so that when the time comes in a real game and they call in the play from the sideline, that the athlete knows where to be subconsciously, because they've already been programmed. Because they've already been instinctively, they know to be on this hash marker, be on this spot, and they know the play and they know the design. But consciously, they're aware of the shot clock, and they're looking to see what subs came off the bench to cover the defenders. And you have to have that balance between conscious and subconscious at all times. And I would even throw in, you need to have subliminal. See, we live close to the happiest place on earth. America's favorite rat. Yeah, not Diddy. Talk about Mickey. But both are wicked, right? I mean, if you take Mickey and you put it reverse in the mirror, right, and you look at the reflection, Mickey backwards spells wicked. So you've got to be aware that everything you know has been programmed to you. Everything you know has been either taught to you consciously, subconsciously, or subliminally. And when it comes to Allen Iverson, he missed practice, and the coaches called a press conference to scold him in front of the world because they knew that if he missed practice, that when they needed him to be programmed in it, to be there when they activated the play, he already knew what to do. Well, the reason I drew that whole story out for you was from my experience on the Freedom device. In 6 minutes or less, you stimulate the sympathetic nervous system. You stay sympathetic for 45 minutes. And in that 45-minute window, you practice. You go through the play. You learn the drill. You learn the footwork. You learn an instrument. You learn a new language, whatever you want to learn. And in my experience, it's an accelerated learning curve to program your subconscious. And whether you use it to get off of addictions or oral fixations of hand to mouth, or trying to stop eating food at night, or snacking, or smoking, or drinking, or you just reprogram it. Well, that's what I did. And it's like living with the cheat code. I think it was Contra, right? Up, up, down, down, left, right, A, B, start. Is that the right code? So I fact checked me. Tell me if that's the right Contra code from Nintendo. I just pulled that one out of my subconscious. That's it. So join me in a life behind bars. And let me free more people than Lincoln ever could. We'll free them neurologically. We'll give them the freedom of choice, and we'll give them the freedom of encouragement and empowerment, and we'll be there to support their dreams on the way up, and we'll be there to catch them on the way down if they fail. And not just for student athletes, but just for everyone in general. And I promise you that I will give everyone the best version of me. You know, as a chef, that's what we do. Most chefs, they prepare a plate, they make it look so appetizing, they layer it and they decorate it and they serve it and they present it, and it's just this masterpiece. And they turn around, they walk back in the kitchen, and they start eating fried or burnt food or stuff they couldn't sell because it didn't reflect their craft or their quality. And they eat leftovers. They sit on the back of a milk carton and drink alcohol, smoke cigarettes, and pop pills to cope with the stress and the overhead. You know, chronic stress is a killer. You know, you got vendors trying to gouge you, you got employees trying to take advantage, you've got competition trying to crush you, you got customers trying to take advantage of fake lawsuits. Man, if you can't manage chronic stress, if you can't cope with chronic stress, I got bad news for you. Your quality of life going forward is going to be a tough one. And Lord forbid you have any kind of injuries or wear and tear, you know, compression issues. Now you've got chronic pain and chronic stress. Well, that's why when you go on Facebook Marketplace and you search restaurants for sale, 90% of them have reason for selling: health conditions. They physically can't do the job anymore. So by restoring capabilities, we restore hope. God bless you. As the seconds tick down to 1 hour on the clock, seconds matter. God bless. Slice of day.